Literacy always on my mind. I'm stacking knowledge, no time to waste. Gotta invest smart, gotta keep up the pace. I'm reading books, learning all the tricks, studying the market, making calculated picks. I'm saving up my dough, watching it grow. No more wasting money on things I don't really know. Financial smarts, that's my new swag. Investing wisely, no more burning cash, I'm building wealth. $1 at a time, going from broke to living the life that's prime.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray Dinero, and we are back at it again with another episode of Future Financial Strategies. Oh my goodness! We're testing some stuff here in the studio. We getting the imagery way more crispy, and I'm loving it. Loving it. First and foremost, we got to give a shout out to the sponsor of the show and the platform. Shout outs to Delta Investment Tracker app. If you are not tapped in with Delta Investment Tracker app, it's not just for crypto anymore. They are tracking both your traditional financial portfolio, your brokerage account, as well as your crypto. You can link your wallet so it's automatically logging everything. You can still do the manual logging, which is my preferred method. It's super useful tool. I use it a lot, use it all the time. The pro version has many insights and additional data and additional context within the app itself. Now, there is a link down in the description below where you can let them know that you found them by way of Reckless Ray Dinero. It's kind of my way of constantly plugging those that help me. Speaking of constantly plugging those that help me, we're giving a shout outs. I got a random Cash App offline. Now, obviously, I am not necessarily the person to throw the banner up all the time because I regularly forget to do that. I just always forget. And so, I'm throwing it up. But shout outs to Dr. Quantum. She taps in with me offline, always on some uplifting, always on some empowerment, always ready to build, always ready to have those deep conversations. And she sent me a random Cash App offline and then a voice message after I messaged her to say thank you. And I just can't, there's not enough to be said about the appreciation of those people who are electing to be the sail in your wins sometimes. Because you never know what somebody's going through. Somebody might just be sitting around, and that little push is all that it takes to, keep them going, keep them fighting another day. And I just thought it was something really cool. Normally, when I'm going through anything, I normally do things by myself. I normally do not have people in my corner that are just regularly cheering me on and supporting, especially on this type of stuff, because people don't like to see you evolve. They don't like to see you making moves that are creating distance, regardless of whether it's in actual life or just in a financial respect, because people don't like being around people that are progressing. They don't like supporting them. They'll support you after you made it. But they'll support you in the backhanded kind of way. Like, I knew who you were before this. Well, maybe that's just not who you are anymore. Maybe you have evolved. And I always say people don't change. You're the same person you always were. I do my best to live that principle, because I am the same person, regardless of whether you saw me in the mud, you see me now. It's the same person. He's still here. It's an evolution. You learn how to acclimate to society better. You learn how to make better decisions. You learn how to not react emotionally to every single thing. But it's still nice when you're on those roads. The people that I've met in my online existence, the ones that have proven themselves to be real outside of these little boxes that we talk on, where we pontificate about how the world works, how finance should work. Everyone's is a guru. Everyone is making six figures except for me, apparently. And, and they're all just 100% up and up and telling the truth. And I try to live my existence on truth. I try to be as legitimate, as real as I can possibly be We're documenting the journey. We're tracking this adventure into the on the road to becoming a certified millionaire. You know, that's what we want to do. Like and I'm leaving the breadcrumbs. I'm letting you guys know what I'm doing. And we like to talk, build, and experiment over here because I'm 100% sure that I'm going to at some point run into something that doesn't work. Granted, I believe that all tools are workable if you actually work them. So I'm going to leave the banner up this show because, you know, it's quantum poured into me in the conversation that we had about the importance of supporting people. And you know, it really struck me. So I'm going to, it put another layer of spark because I've been experimenting with stuff. As you know, the videos, we've got a couple of things that we're working with here. Getting the video more crispy, getting the lighting better. Like we're making some moves and we're doing some upgrading. We're doing some upgrading as we go. Now, not all of it is going to be super useful now, but I know that some of this stuff that I'm getting is going to definitely be useful later on. And as we're going through this process, we're gonna be making some larger updates. So we're gonna jump right into it. So what we're gonna do is I'm going into my velocity banking strategy, but the first thing that I want to do is give a breakdown of what velocity banking is. Now, this is to the best of my knowledge based on all the information that I've gotten. I've asked Google, I've asked AI, I've asked everybody, and this is what we've come up with. So I'm gonna give a synopsis of what this is, and then we're gonna get into how I am utilizing it and what my strategy is. Now, as I find more efficient ways to utilize these tools, I am updating. I do not just take something as what it is, especially if it's something that I can do to make it more efficient, because there's a lot of things, a lot of tools that are given that they give you the tool in a semi-broken fashion. And it's because, generally speaking, the people who are giving you these tools, now, in my experience in velocity banking, people just lay it out and it is what it is, and they're not necessarily selling you stuff. Specifically, shout outs to the Stidums. Going to tag them in the video. If I say your name from now on, you getting tagged in the video, good or bad. This is good, though, because I like the Stidums. I love their platform. I like their show. I like the dynamic. I honestly am thinking that once I figure out what we're doing with Guns and Butter, I would definitely love to reach out and have the Stidums on the show, because there's so many facets of things that they touch on that could probably be gleaned a little bit more to light for the general public, because they're living a life of excellence, and I respect that, and they're doing it as a couple, and I don't think we get to see enough of that. Watching their platform, I love it. They play, they're back and forth, they're funny, they seem like they really enjoy each other's company, and you know, obviously they're married, and those are things that we should probably be talking about. We should probably be uplifting the goals, what we actually want, versus constantly delving into the negative and talking about what we don't want. We need to have more conversations about what we're moving towards, what we're supporting, what we're advocating, and less conversations of what we're just purely avoiding or not willing to tolerate. Because I know everybody has a list of what they don't want for their life, but how many of you have a list of what you do want? How many people know what they do want beyond talking points? When it comes to wealth, we all know that we don't want to be poor. We all know that we don't want to be homeless. I'm pretty sure everybody who wants to be homeless is outside. So we all know that what the outcomes that we don't want. We don't talk about the outcomes that we do want. We talk about these strategies. We like to do takedowns. We like to do hits on other people's strategies, and people are not logging the results. People are not giving you the receipts. They're just telling you, oh, you got to just pay cash for everything. Okay, but like, you have stuff that's on debt, Dave Ramsey. Getting tagged in the video. You have debt. You are not paying for everything cash. You're not telling people how to act efficiently or actively use these tools, or how you're using these tools. And I understand, because a lot of people who have stuff to sell, market to the lowest common denominator. They want to get as many smooth brains gravitating to their content as possible, so that they can just sell them whatever the heck it is that they have to sell, and they can just do that. And it's not to say that these things don't work. The Dave Ramsey plan does work to a certain extent. Is it the most efficient or the most efficacious in the current environment? Absolutely not. Will it get you a solid start? Absolutely. Like if you are $1 bazillion in credit card debt, you're financially illiterate, you know nothing about money, starting there is better than starting nowhere because you're starting. But people gravitate and they get religious about these little cults that they want to be in because we all want to be part of a group. And, you know, there's not a whole lot of sigmas like myself, like Reckless Ray and Arrow, that'll be out here and be like, yo, like this part of this works, this part of this doesn't work, and here's the math to back it up. When you start talking about your feelings over math, when it comes to money, this is just math. And I say this all the time. It's probably going to be my talking point because I say it very condescendingly. It's just math. You can do the math on whether something works or not. If your portfolio is down, you can do the math diametrically. If somebody else has a different investing strategy than you and their portfolio is in the positive and you're in the negative, that strategy is better, at least right now. And people don't want to give that context because they don't want to have to concede at all. And they have to be 100% right with their guru status. Well, I'm not a guru and I like to test stuff. So we're going to jump right into it. So this is what velocity banking is. Velocity banking is a debt repayment system that aims to pay down debt, particularly mortgages, more quickly by leveraging a line of credit, LOC for short, the shorthand within the space, LOC, line of credit, or a home equity credit, line of credit, a HELOC. Here's how it works. So we're going to break down how it works. First thing, you got to open up a line of credit with a lower interest rate than your existing debts. Now, for this first part, because I'm going to give my context as we break this down. For this first part, it's not necessarily about opening the line of credit. Now, if you have access to a HELOC and you want a HELOC out of this, I don't think that currently the way that I came into it and the way that I'm utilizing it, that's not the most efficient, in my opinion. A lot of times they just start you off. And this is from what I've seen in the space and my personal experience, because this is how I started, because I have been using this. We have got one credit card already knocked out. We are working on the second one and we're tweaking as we go. Like we're tweaking the strategy as we go because I'm finding more ways and I have a different way that I do this than the straight cookie cutter way. But I'm going to tell you the straight cookie cutter way. You open a lower rate than your existing debts. Now, one of the ways that you could do this is you could open a balance transfer card, such as the Chase Slate card. It's a solid one. You get that long-term 0% interest. You pay the transfer fee, which is a one-time fee. It's normally about 3.5% to 5%. And then you work from that and you pay off your debt. Or if you're not wanting to open another line of credit, which if you are financially irresponsible, I don't recommend doing that. You start with one of the cards. Now, me personally, I started with a medium card because I have quite a bit of debt that we're experimenting with this with. It's $16,000 for those who are wanting to know. Yes, Reckless Ray has got $16,000 in debt. How did he get $16,000 in debt? We can give the context on that as well. $8,000 of it was when I originally injured myself to buy myself some cash flow. So, yes, I leverage credit to buy assets, 100%. I don't take those debts and go on vacation. I don't buy rims. I don't upgrade my car. I mean, technically, this time around, I didn't even use it to upgrade my house. We started a specific savings account for that we've been tracking, that we hit our metric on, and we converted a chunk of that into the cash flow as well. Now, with that said, the other 8,000 of it is because of the second thing that I do specific to the crypto bull run cycle. I will float myself on my available credit so that I can invest more cash, which is another way of sidestepping and getting some debt. And you go, why would you take debt at 27 to 35%? Now, for me, first of all, I've got good credit, so it's not 35%. It's about 20, I'd say between 20 and 27. And it's because I make more than that. So for me, it's a worthwhile trade. I'm not going on extravagant vacations. You don't see me posting on the gram that I'm all over the place and I'm doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. No, you see me maybe out at a arcade bar with the homies, maybe going on a weekend trip, and you see me at a lot of like house parties, pool parties, stuff where it's just like you grab some groceries, get together with some friends, and we do stuff like that. I'm not spending a ton of money. But to get me through and to make sure that I can invest as much as possible, I will front load that and run the debt. So $8,000 of that is Ray ran up some debt, some consumer debt, if you would, so that I could buy more assets, buy more cash flow, is what it is. Second step is you use the line of credit as your primary account, depositing your entire paycheck into it. Twofold on why you do this. Specifically, if you're using, actually, honestly, it works across the board because all of your credit is assessed based on the average daily balance. Now, when you're taking large chunks out of it, even if you're working down that first credit card and you put your whole check into that first credit card, and this requires that you have to pay off that debt. You have to have everything where you can put it on that primary credit card. Now, the part of this actually, you know what? Let's just go with that. So you're depositing your entire check to the credit card. This also affects your daily interest, your average daily balance that they charge your interest on. So you're chunking down at that. So now on that credit card specifically, you are getting pinged for less of that debt as you start this process. Because when I started, I did not open a new account. I started specifically targeting accounts that were already in existence. None of my cards are maxed out, but there's balances on all of them. And I normally have high balance cards because, again, I have good credit. I'm a responsible consumer. I'm good at that game. I pay the debt back. So the first card, chunk it down. You're depositing your whole check in there. Now, everybody asks, what do you do with your other cards if you have multiple credit cards? You pay the minimum balance. So you're depositing everything but those minimum balances. If you have a mortgage and you can't get that to come out of your credit card, you have to pay that mortgage. It has to be what it has to be. Like this, there's a little bit of logic that's involved in here. I'm breaking this down as though the people who are listening to this know nothing. Move number 3, you draw from the line of credit to pay bills and expenses, which is what we just went over, including your mortgage payment. Now, I haven't figured out how to pay my mortgage payment specifically with a credit card. So, I mean, honestly, so that's obviously a discrepancy in the caveat that I gave on move number 2. But if you can, you're putting everything on that credit card and then paying that credit card down or that line of credit down. Number 4, the goal is to apply large chunks of money towards your debt, particularly your mortgage, while using the line of credit to pay daily expenses. Number 5, as you receive income, you put it back in the line of credit to pay it down. Now, what this is supposed to do is if you have now, assuming that you're getting to this point in the game, you should have a budget. You should be cutting some stuff out. If you've racked up your debt because you are spending more than you actually make, you're spending more cash flow than you have, you're going to have to go through and you're going to have to make some cuts. Maybe you got to cut out Netflix for a little while. Maybe you got to do what you got to do. The goal here is to laser focus to pay these debts down as fast as possible. And when you get done with the one card, you can move on to the next card or the next debt that you have. Now, obviously, using this in its inception, it was originally used as an alternative means to pay down your mortgage faster. I like this tool. Like, I am not worried about paying down my mortgage faster. I'm an avid house hacker. I do like real estate. I'm looking at doing more properties. So paying down my mortgage really isn't a priority for me. We're using this to acquire income as fast as possible, which will get us into the strategy. Now, the way that I use velocity banking, what we have done, we paid down the first card, and the first tweak that we made was I also use in-home banking, which for me, the way that works out, it is not tied to the whole life mortgage stuff. I don't do that, so don't ask me about it because I'm not at a space, like we're trying to get to that $1 million net worth, and I am not at a space to where that was on my radar because getting that spun up is expensive, and it was an upfront expense that I did not want to pay because of the opportunity cost. I could get $50,000 to $100,000 into that vehicle if I wanted to, but then I'd have to give up my cryptocurrency or other assets. And I don't want to pay the opportunity cost because those things are going to be way more expensive later. And I'm part of my strategy is banking on that appreciation. So I don't want to give that up. So I figured I could just do it with a cash pool of money, my savings account, my emergency fund, if you would. I don't believe in stagnant money. So I don't believe in an emergency fund that just sits there and doesn't get used. So we paid off the first card, and I tweaked it so that I would have access to the in-home banking funds and my Cash App. So I paired those together to make these hunkin' payments, these chunking payments. And then I paid those two pools back. Now, one of the other things that I've started doing is I've started leveraging my balance transfers instead of just cashing them out and using the cash to buy more assets. We are using those balance transfers, and we are specifically targeting the balance transfer, which is at 0%, because then we can, in the initial onset of this, we can just balance transfer those over in chunks, pay the chunk off, and initiate another balance transfer, pay the chunk off, is the way that I'm doing it currently. And this is coming out of the in-home banking pool, which I do pay myself back 10% on that. I just found out my Cash App, they've dropped my rate of borrowing, my APR on that down to 2.75%. I paid that 10% back also into the in-home banking pool. We're going to grow out our in-home banking pool by utilizing it to pay this debt back, because however this shakes out, you're paying somebody. You should all, I believe, at least the way that I'm running my finances, is I should also pay myself. I should have the same level of respect at minimum that I have for my credit card company. Now, am I going to charge myself 27% or something exuberant? No, it's a flat 10. Flat 10. But the point is, I'm adding to the pool, which is also giving me additional capital every time I utilize this to take that next battering ram charge at the debt. Now, the other thing that I do in between this, now that I've got this down into a system, is for reckless rated narrows version of velocity banking, is in between paying off that chunk that's going into that I'm paying off, at the end of clearing that card, I take a pay period and I focus those funds into assets, into purchasing additional income. Now, how am I doing that? Well, I got into, like, obviously coming from the crypto space, I am a very high risk investor. I am the highest of high risk investors. People come into the crypto space and they just get completely decimated. And I've been there for 10 years. So coming back into the traditional finance space, I'm looking for similar income to what I was able to generate in my heyday. Oh, geez. Bless me. Woo! Allergies today. I'm looking to generate similar income to what I was able to do in my heyday within the cryptocurrency space. Oh, another one. Gonna mute. Whew, that was two good ones. And so what I found is high yield dividend investing. Now, I'm not investing in individual high yield stocks. I understand that there's a stigma to that because they're paying out that high yield and usually fizzling themselves out of business. And it's kind of a honeypot trap in the investment space, I guess you could say. They're poorly run businesses and they're trying to entice investors to bring in more capital, but then they got to pay out all this capital. And generally, it just doesn't work out well, which is fair. Not going to argue that one bit, not in the slightest. But what I found when I got back into the space was we have high yield ETFs that run covered call strategies. Now, that's actually somebody out there trading the market, actively trading with hedge fund money. And those ETFs definitely caught my attention. So we are currently heavily involved with that, which is generating income. Like, we just recently covered my mortgage payment. We're working out our first metric for me getting serious about my brokerage account was getting $100 in dividends. Once I hit that, it was very quickly, we broke 500, and we probably are looking at this next month coming up, the month of August. we should be clearing 1,000. We should be over 1,000 the month of August. Now, our next large metric goal is $1,500. Now, once we get to that sweet spot of $1,500, what we're going to do is we're going to shift our debt tool and we're going to shift out of debt completely. And what I'm looking to do in the end game of this is once we get to $1,500 and I can hit that 2 months, we're going to shift over and we're going to just focus on funneling all of the money that I have income coming in into building out the income portfolio in a maddening rush. We are going to act in as though we are desperately investing, which means that we're going to be bolstering out the positions. We're going to be adding more positions in there because at $1,500 a month, that's going to cover all of my core expenses. All my core expenses pretty much will be covered at about $1,500, give or take. We're covering all the expenses. And then we'll be able to use that income in conjunction with what we're doing to rapid fire pay this debt off. But I also want to continue to bolster that weapon, that tool. And the goal is to shift over completely to where everything just goes into the income portfolio. And then we're dispersing out of the income portfolio to pay all bills. And we're just going to keep that at zero at that point. At that point, I will keep debt free. I won't do the floats anymore. We'll probably still do the conversions, the debt conversions, to just additional bolstering of that and just use the income to pay it back. But that is my personal goal, because at about that point, we can start making plans for the future and how we're going to be navigating from a financial perspective and like what we're going to do if we want to go to work, all that fun stuff. There's a couple of things in regards to the velocity banking that we got to keep in mind, though. There's several important, very important potential drawbacks that you could run into using this strategy specifically. Number one, it requires discipline and positive cash flow to be effective. Now, that's questionable. The discipline part, 100%. You have to be extremely financially disciplined. But the positive cash flow is questionable in the sense that if you're paying chunks off, if you're using this to clear credit card debt, because like obviously we're not using this as a tool to pay the mortgage down faster. We're using it as a tool to clear credit card debt. And then we're going to use these financial principles of velocity banking, and we're going to tweak it into living out of cash flow and just using every incoming dollar to purchase more cash flow. Now, they say this requires positive cash flow to be effective. The question is, if you start chunking down a credit card, you are actually creating a little bit of positive cash flow in the sense that you are not getting dinged that finance charge. Your finance charges are shrinking because you're focused paying down debt. Obviously, if you've gotten yourself into a situation where you're completely underwater and you don't have positive cash flow, that in and of itself is a problem. Like there needs to be some budgeting tweaks to go find and see what you can free up. If you're doing that and you're getting Uber Eats, Instacart, Netflix, Hulu, you got all the streaming services, Amazon Prime and so forth, and you're just spending money to spend it every day, that needs to be addressed. But this strategy can work. And the Stidhams, again, shout out to the Stidhams, have a really great video that breaks down on their page how to implement velocity banking if you don't have positive cash flow and how it can work. And they break it down by the numbers. Again, it's just math. Number two, the strategy uses debt to pay off debt, which can be risky, 100%. I tell people that all the time. They're like, oh, you're over leveraged. I'm never over leveraged. Never over leveraged. I keep my debt, the outstanding debt, if I needed to cash out to pay off the existing debt right now, I'm covered and then some, and I'd still have tools that we're still running. So it depends on how you do this. Obviously, I'm not necessarily using debt because I have to pay off debt. That would be a much riskier situation. I'm using debt to show you guys how this strategy works to pay off debt because I don't want to liquidate assets to pay off debt. I don't like selling assets, period. We have created income generating vehicles via the income portfolio to produce income to pay off debts. I like to pay off debt with cash that's generated. I don't like selling off an asset to pay for anything. I don't like selling assets. Like, the name of the game is to never give up any assets, period. That's how you get wealthy. Regardless of what level of wealth you're on, having that mentality will get you into the wealthiest of wealthy percents faster and more efficiently than any strategy that anyone tells you. Like, if you're just selling off stuff to sell off stuff, because generally you have to. But if you don't have to and you can figure out ways to do it without ever giving up anything, you just have a bunch of assets. It just makes sense. It's just math. Number 3, it may not actually save significant amounts of money compared to simply making extra payments on your existing debts. That one doesn't really make sense to me. And the reason it doesn't is you literally are making the maximum payment on the existing debt. It's your entire check on the debt tool. Now, if you're looking to save money, if you're in debt and you're looking to save money, you have a different set of problems. Like, you're already in a hole. And so a lot of these strategies, and I'll tell people straight up, like, if you're not down the rabbit hole on financial independence, being self-directed, getting rich, retiring early, not being in the rat race, having work be optional versus mandatory and a have to do, then a lot of these things don't work for you. If you're in the mentality of I'm trying to save money, then like you shouldn't have been in debt in the first place. Like, if you're just looking at saving money, if you're just trying to be miserly, if you're just trying to be cheap, like that just doesn't sound like a great existence to me. Like, I don't prescribe to that thought process, mainly because I don't think it's efficient. It's like, what are you doing this for? Like, why? Like that mindset, somebody who's just looking to save money, I got to save money on this credit card debt. Like, it's like, just get rid of it, get it gone. This is a tool that you can use to get it gone faster. It's not necessarily about saving money. Like, if you're going to do that, then you could just rotate debt and just constantly keep it in a 0% account and indefinitely do that until it doesn't go away and you expire. Like, that would save money. They send me those things all the time. Transfer your credit card debt and you'll save this amount of money. Like, it's not about saving money. It's about getting rid of it. So, like, you got to have the right mindset to even be in these spaces. Like, if you're coming in looking to save a few bucks on your credit card debt versus having the credit card debt be gone so that you can build something so that you're not in credit card debt anymore, then you might be looking in the wrong place. This might not be the space for you. But you can't blame the tool for you and your mindset. The tool is the tool. How you use it is on you. If it works for you, is on you, because mathematically, I'm tracking it. You got the Stidhams. They're given multiple examples. They've utilized it. They've got plenty of people over in those camps that are utilizing it, including myself, that can tell you about their experiences with it. It's based on the person. If you're not disciplined, then nothing works. The complexity of the strategy can make it difficult to implement correctly. That's another one. Like, if you're going to be blunt, if you're too dumb to use a strategy, don't use that strategy. I don't think paying off the lion's share of your check going into a credit card, you put all the stuff on the one credit card, and then you pay the minimum balances on everything else to keep it managed so that you're not catching late fees, is difficult. I don't see where the difficulty in this comes from. But I understand there's a lot of people with a lot of different cognitive aptitudes out there, and not everything is for everyone. It's just not. That's, again, not the tool's fault. It's the person's fault. I can't work on German cars myself because I don't speak the language, but B, the architecture of the car is completely different. Stuff is in different places. There's more stuff to take apart. But you give me a Chevy, I can handle that. You give me a Honda, I can handle that. Nissan, I can handle that. Most engines, I can work on the top of the engine. Top of the engine, I can get access to. My Lexus, I can handle that. All the stuff up top, I can get to. Now, as it gets more difficult, now you got to go to YouTube University. You got to figure out if you got the time and want to put in the effort to dig down into these engines. I don't buy Audis because I can't work on them myself as much as I'd like to. I like tinkering with cars. Audis aren't for me. I'm not intelligent enough to work on the top of that motor. That's fair. Acceptable. Again, it's not the car, the person working on it. It's not the tool, it's you. The tool isn't bad because you can't use it. Before I knew how to use a hammer drill, I couldn't be like hammer drills are terrible because I didn't know how to use a hammer drill. I now know how to use a hammer drill. They're awesome for what they're used for. The tool versus the person. The tool is the tool. The person using the tool is what makes it either work or not work. It may not be suitable for everyone, particularly those who struggle with controlling spending. 100% agree with that one. At number 5, this is the one that I 100% agree with. If you have a spending issue, you need to be on the Dave Ramsey plan. Get out of debt, never touch debt, run away from debt like you ain't built for it. Just understand that on the road to financial success and the road to financial freedom and the road to wealth, the road to generational wealth, whatever buzzword you want to throw in there, that road also has a drawback. It's not as efficient. Like, it just isn't. It just isn't. If I was saving up till I could pay for the place that I'm currently living in, that I'm house hacking, that freed up the lion's share of my investment money, and I was waiting to pay cash for it, A, I wouldn't be sitting on all the equity I'm sitting on now, and B, I would never own a home, because most of y'all who are saving up for cash now, there's no starter homes. And the price of homes are going up. Again, I'm sitting on a lot of equity right now. So I would never be able to buy a house that way. Like, that's just not how stuff works. These wealthy people, your gurus, have debt. They're leveraging. That's why they're wealthy and talking to you from the mountaintop and telling you not to do what they did to get there. But it's something to think on. So we're gonna close it off on that. I think this was a solid episode. We're gonna see what's what. I'm really digging the new lighting and the camera. I'm liking this. We're getting some stuff going now. But yeah, let's have a conversation down in the comments. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on my velocity banking strategy. Hopefully the Stidhams catch this, since I'm going to tag them in the video, and they can tap in as well and give me their thoughts and opinions on it. Because I think this is a good conversation. I think there needs to be people like myself. There's people that give the strategy. I think there's people that give a bunch of different tweaks. I know the Stidhams have a bunch of different tweaks as well. I mean, that's where I learned. And, I kind of took it, brought it into my financial system, and figured out how I could make this tool work for me. And so far, I am liking it. I really like the focus of it. I don't believe that it's complex at all, but it makes sense. It's logical. So I really love that about it. And I'm really interested in seeing where this journey goes, because I'm feeling the momentum of it. I'm feeling the velocity pick up, if you would. No pun intended. And yeah, when stuff works, I'm going to report back that it's working, and we're going to keep tweaking it and kind of figuring out how it fits in my system. I don't think that you have to take it the way that I prescribe it. This is the way that it works for me. Finances are, and we got to consistently remind ourselves, they are an N of one. Everyone's personal situation is different. Everyone's finances are different. Your home situation is different. What you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, what lifestyle choices you're willing to make to get to where you're going will be different. But for me, this works, and I could see how this could work in a multitude of different scenarios. And so we're going to keep reporting on it, and, just know that in the background, this is what we're doing. Till next time, it's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro. If you got value out of this, definitely make sure to drop me a like. It lets me know that I'm hitting on stuff that people want to hear, that you guys want to talk about. In the comments, let me know what you guys want to talk about. In the comments, you can ask me questions. I do answer all my comments. Also, share the video. The Wolfpack over here, we are not trying to get rich by ourselves. There's plenty of room. We love it when people join us. We love it when people join in on the conversation. And it's important that we have these conversations. Like, I understand that a lot of these YouTube channels, they just do one thing. I do not want, at least not on this channel, is not going to be that. It's going to be the full spectrum. It's going to be touching on everything that I'm involved in when I'm ready to talk about it. I'd say the consensus is the lion's share of this stuff is going to be financial literacy focus. But these people who only talk about one thing that they're doing, and they're like, I just do this one thing, and it's like, that's not how finances work. Nobody just does one thing financially. It's just not real. And I want there to be real conversations facilitated over here, because I don't have anything to sell. So we're just going to talk about it. We're documenting the journey, and we're going to experiment with stuff, and we're going to talk about it across the board. Till next week, it's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro. Peace.
Money on my mind, yeah. Focus, got no time for games, nah. I don't play, man, I'm all about that financial literacy. Investing in my future, building generational wealth. Dollar bills, they be calling my name, but I ain't chasing fame, I'm chasing change. Learn the game, now I'm playing it smart. Putting my money to work, it's an art. I'm stacking paper, building my own empire. No more living check to check, I'm getting higher. Investing in stocks, real estate, and more. Gotta secure the bag, that's what I came for.